Hi everyone, welcome. FPL Matt Day here. I'm all ready for the double game week 22. It's going to be an absolutely massive one. Manchester United with 2 games and Leeds United with 2 games this week. I am joined by a special guest tonight, a fellow Spurs fan at FPLROO. Here he is. Go give him a follow if you haven't done already. He's on YouTube at FPLROO, Twitter at FPLROO as well. So you can find him there and also on TikTok. How you going, mate? And are you ready for this game week?
Yeah, no, going really good, mate. Thanks for having me on. I'm buzzing for it, to be honest. Although there's probably only one team that you want players from, but 2 home fixtures, so hopefully some big scores.
Yeah, that's actually a good point, isn't it? Like with it being a double game week, obviously Man United, Leeds United, but everyone's sort of talking about the Man United players, and we're not really talking about the Leeds players as much, are we?
No, I think it's because obviously you got the tough game against United, and then they've got Forest away as well first, and Forest have been doing pretty well defensively at home, so I think it's kind of struggling for options, and Bamford's back as well, so it kind of puts that front line into a bit of question who's going to start, and it's probably just not worth it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think with Leeds, a lot of people looked at the Forest game as an easy game probably at the start of the season, but now it's a tough game. So we've got the Leeds Forest game. It was Nottingham Forest versus Leeds, and then Man United versus Leeds. So that's the Leeds fixtures that are away in both. And then the Man United double game week is Man United versus Crystal Palace, and then Man United versus Leeds. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to talk both about our transfer plans. So I'll go through mine first, and then I'll get FPLROO's thoughts on my transfers. Then he's going to tell me his thoughts for his transfers. And then we're just going to talk about how many hits we think should be taken this week. Then the best captains, triple captain, and then we'll both pick a differential ready for the game week. So I'll start off with transfer plans. I'll start off with me and what I'm thinking for my team, and you can let me know if you think which combination you think's best. So my plans are Bruno Fernandes in for Eriksen because Eriksen's obviously injured, but to do that I need a -4. So for the -4, I'm thinking about, and this is tough because obviously we're both Spurs fans, but I'm thinking about taking out Kulusevski. Although I'm liking his form and his record against Man City, he scored in the last game, for Ødegaard. So there's that combination. Or Bruno Fernandes for Eriksen. So same transfer, but use the -4 and bring in a Kanji for Cancelo, bench a Kanji. And by doing that, it means next week I can bring Saka in instead of Ødegaard. So what do you think is the best option from those? And there's a few of them.
So I think you're along the right lines. Taking out obviously, taking out who you're going to take out, say Cancelo or Eriksen. That's pretty unlucky. Eriksen, as he would have probably done well in this double game week. I just see, for me, it depends who you're starting. So who would you start, say, instead of a Kanji? And you'd probably have to start them anyway, right? No matter what.
Yeah, so instead of a Kanji, it would be either Ben White or Lewis Dunk. Like Ben White's got the Everton away game. Lewis Dunk's got Bournemouth at home. So they've both got good fixtures. Then I'd effectively be playing Kulusevski in midfield at home to Man City, a team he did score against in his last 2 games, I think, that he's played against them.
Yeah. I think the second one, Cancelo out. That means you've got the City defender ready for next week for the double. A lot of people are saying Ake is their favourite City defender, but I think Akanji's better off. I think he's only been dropped 1 game so far in the Premier League this whole season. He can play right back, let a centre back. I think he's even played left back at some times. So that's a good option. Yeah, Bruno for Eriksen. Yeah, great. Bruno strong this week. And then, and I think Saka is a better option than Ødegaard for next week as well. So you're kind of upgrading in more than one way.
That's what I'm thinking. And that's kind of what I was thinking. Look, the thing is, whatever combination I make this week is a -4 and whatever I do this week may potentially become a -8 next week. And I've never been someone to take hits until this season because I've not had the best season, so I've just started taking hits everywhere and not been as conservative. But it's paid off. A lot of my hits have paid off this year. So that it would be next week that I'd then bring in Saka for probably Bruno Fernandes. Kulusevski would leave my team, and someone like Mahrez would come in, and then I'd then bring in like an Nketiah for Tony, and then I wouldn't need to take out Cancelo because he's already kind of left. So it basically, by doing the Cancelo, Akanji, and Bruno Eriksson transfer this week, it means I get Saka next week instead of Odegaard, and I'm kind of with you that Saka could be the better option than Odegaard with his he's although Odegaard had some big points since the restart. He's actually, I think Saka's form's been a little bit more consistent each game with his returns. So that's where I'm at. So that's my transfers. FPLROO has definitely helped me out there. So it's given me something to think about. Let's talk about yours. So what are you thinking with your transfers?
Well, I was basically confirmed until last night. That Martial coming on and scoring has kind of thrown me, to be honest. So originally it was going to be, well, this is my definite transfer, Salah to Bruno. I'm sure you're shocked, like everyone else is, that I've still got Mo Salah in my team.
No brainer.
But yeah, I don't know how I've still got him. It's kind of, there was more fires to put out, and then he ended up just staying too long, like that mate that doesn't leave after a party. He just go home.
Just won't go home. So please just leave.
Yeah. So hopefully Salah can leave and bring Bruno in.
And you never thought you'd say that, would you, in FPL? I want to get rid of Salah.
No, never. I thought I was smart starting the season with Haaland, Kane, and Salah, but it hasn't seemed that way. And then these are my thoughts, kind of almost confirmed. I was going to do Martial to Nketiah, and then a -4 Patterson for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, it made sense.
Now, yeah. But now I'm thinking Martial came on last night, scored a goal. If he can start one game and then come on in the other game, then that's a transfer that doesn't need to happen this week. But that would mean I'd be forfeiting a Man United defender. So I'd be going with Bruno, Rashford and Martial. But that means I'm saving a transfer, saving a -4. So I go into next week with 2 transfers where I can do Almiron to Saka. And then who else was it? And then I can do Martial to Nketiah anyway, and do Almiron to Mahrez.
You know what? I think it makes sense being able to have the 2 transfers next week, because what you got to look at now is how many points do you think Martial can get in these 2 games? All right, if he starts one, maybe grabs a goal in the second game, because you think he'd definitely start at least one of the 2. Grabs a goal, doesn't get any bonus, just gets 6 points. Then he comes off the bench, 7 points. Luke Shaw might then get a couple of clean sheets, a couple of bonus, 14 points. But you've not taken a hit, so you're missing out on 7 points. If you were taking a hit, you're not really missing out on as many points. But will it benefit you in the long run to have 2 transfers next week though? And just, it's kind of, I guess for you, it's kind of who do you think? Do you think you're going to miss out too much by not having Shaw and having Martial instead this week? Like, you might not miss out too much.
No, and the thing is I've got Botman, so I'm not like struggling. I'm not struggling for kind of that third defender. So I'll play Botman double Newcastle at home to West Ham. They'll be flying after getting to Wembley. So that means I have to play Botman. It also means I can hold Patterson until game week 25, where he has a fixture, and he's likely to be back game week 24. So it's not guaranteed, but it kind of gives me the option to have him on the bench. And Shaw, I would have been taking out Shaw before game week 25 anyway. So I kind of saved myself 2 transfers almost. The only other option is I could have I could also do Bruno to KDB rather than do Almiron to Mahrez. But I just feel like Almiron's days are numbered in that team.
Yeah,
With Saint Maximum, Anthony Gordon, even like Isaac
Gordon
playing
as
up there.
well. Yeah, I agree. I think you're definitely on the right track. You've got to look at the long term. Yeah, obviously Martial being fit has thrown a spanner in the works because it's very hard to take out a double game week player. But at the same time, what can really affect you is if Shaw scored a goal in one of the games with a clean sheet, then kept a clean sheet with bonus in the next one, right? That's what could impact you. But at the same time, all it takes is a goal from Palace and a goal from Leeds, and
Mm,
you're probably in a pretty good position. So
yeah.
lots to think about there for you, mate. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what you do. So that's our transfer plans. We've both got problems. We're both not 100% sure what we're going to do. But yeah, look, we'll see what happens before the deadline. Let us know in the comments what you think of our potential moves. Let us know your transfers in the comments as well. And if you've got this far into the clip, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new here. Also check out at FPLROO, his channel on YouTube. I'll have him tagged in the description as well, so you can go and give him a subscribe. But let's go on to our next part of the stream. How many hits do you think should be taken this week, or how many hits do you think is a good number? And I'm saying this based on if you're someone with maybe one or two Man United players, um, what do you think? I'll let you start in terms of how many hits do you think you can get away with, and maybe we could base it on the fact that you might triple captain or not.
So I'm probably going to give the politician's answer, and it kind of it kind of depends on your team. But I'd say I'd probably give a blanket rule and say if you're bringing in a Leeds or Man United player, then take the hit for that player because you got to look at it as a single player. You're taking a -4, so you're getting an extra 2 points anyway. And for Leeds, they play in game week 25, so you're
True.
getting a player for that as well.
Who
But
do
let's
they play in game
say
week 25? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I'll quickly check because I got it
Yeah,
open.
let's check. That's a good point. If Leeds playing game week 25 and you're bringing in one of their players for the Forest and Man United game,
Yeah,
Forest and Man
Southampton
United
at
games, they've
home.
got Saints at home. Okay, so like
Really?
that's pretty good if you get in, like if you've got a midfield spot and you get like a Rodrigo in or a Harrison in, or even if you
Yeah,
just go, I want to go Bamford, I've got a third striker spot, I'm just going to throw him in now.
yeah.
Obviously, he gets fitness problems, but that's a good point.
So yeah, and then if we can use it as like an example of what I was going to do, so I was going to go Patterson to Shaw for a -4, and that would have mean dropping Botman down to the bench. So I think it's worth it. I think Shaw's worth 4 points more than Botman, who's basically guaranteed a clean sheet.
True.
So I just think it's worth it for any Man United player. And in terms of maximum, I guess 8 is the maximum if you already got one or two.
I think so. I agree. I think like if you're playing a triple captain, on Bruno or Rashford or whoever else, I think, and you're confident they're going to do well, I think you could probably get away with the higher end of the -8, especially because you've then got Bruno, Rashford, Luke Shaw, if that's already your triple up. And you're then taking a -8 to bring in Rashford, Bruno, and then you're making one other transfer ready for next week, or you've got an injury or whatever. But yeah, I'd say probably -4 is probably fine. I think it's fine this week taking a -4. It's just 4 points. You're probably going to get it back with a double game week player anyway. If you really need to, like FPLROO was saying, you can take a -8 if you don't have Rashford or Fernandez right now. So yeah, I think -4 to -8 is probably about right.
Yeah. So just but the only other thing is, I'm probably going to annoy a lot of people now, but people that are doing KDB to Bruno just to go back to KDB,
Yeah,
I'm not too sure that's worth it. Like, I don't think it's worth it to take out an Arsenal or a City player because you're basically getting the same amount of fixtures. Okay, you're trying to manipulate it by going from City to United back to City, but I don't think that's worth the headache. To be honest, I'd just get Bruno in for KDB, then go Mahrez or go for someone a little bit cheaper where you can maybe upgrade another midfield slot.
yeah, that's also an interesting one. I think a lot of people are going to favour Mahrez in game week 23, even if we don't think he's going to start both, because you're effectively going to get. I always say that in a double game week from a Man City player that isn't Haaland, Ederson, or De Bruyne, you really should only be expecting 1.5 games
Yeah,
or 1.3 games, which is 30 minutes off the bench. So, and you've probably got a good chance of getting as many points as De Bruyne with Mahrez for 1.5 games, because he's a bigger goal threat than De Bruyne for me. So I agree with that. I think if you're going to do De Bruyne to Bruno this week, then yeah, you may as well look to a Mahrez or a Grealish or whoever Pep Guardiola decides he's going to play in game week 23. So that's the hits. Let's talk about the best captain for this week. And also, is this the best week to triple captain? We'll start off with the best captain. I think we're both just going to say the same one. I think it is Rashford, based on his form, 2 home games, great home record. So I'd probably say Rashford number 1, Bruno Fernandes number 2, and I'd like to throw a Leeds player in at 3, but I'm not. I'll just throw Luke Shaw in at number 3, because they're sort of the players that have been on form. Any change to that, mate, or you think that's exactly the same
no,
as you? Or is there anyone you want to
yeah,
change?
no, exactly the same. Probably. They're probably the three best Man United options. Like you said, Rashford's got 6 returns since the World Cup, 5 goals, um, and don't forget it's a double game week, so he's going to rack up points for clean sheets. Well, not rack them up, but 2 potential extra points for clean sheets.
Agree.
That extra point for a goal as well over a striker.
No, good stuff. All right, so best triple captain. I think FPLROO. Let's get your thoughts. Is it Rashford?
No, it's not Rashford. It's um, so literally before this week, I was probably 90% going to play it on Rashford. Great fixtures, on form. And then while I was doing a video, I actually talked myself out of it a little bit. So I was just thinking, I was like, okay, Rashford's great. Gets an extra point. Like I said, clean sheet points as well. But then I was just thinking, like, we've got this striker, this Norwegian
Yeah,
striker that's
yeah, you
scored
did say
25
this.
goals.
Yeah.
He scored 25 goals in, I think he's only started 18 games or something like that. Played 19. And like, he's ridiculous. How are you not? If you could pick anyone in the world to use this chip on, you'd pick Haaland. Like there's no one else that guarantees goals like him. And then I was looking kind of back at the rest of the season. Rashford doesn't really get double digit hauls. I think he's got 2
He
or 3
doesn't.
like the whole season. Haaland scores hat tricks for fun. But then I looked at Haaland as well and I saw, okay, he doesn't really do it against the stronger team. So he's got a goal against Spurs and then a hat trick against United. But he's blanked against Liverpool, against Chelsea. So obviously that double game week has Arsenal in it too. So I don't think Rashford or Haaland, to be honest, for game week 23, 22, 23. I think
Okay.
Haaland later on down the line.
You know what? That's an interesting one, because I do tend to agree in the fact that we kind of got some recency bias at the moment, and I get it because Rashford is on some of the best form I've probably seen him on before, if not the best form. But whilst he's on this form, he's not racking up the 20-point hauls. Okay, he's had a couple of decent scores: 10 points against City, 17 against Forest, but he also has tendencies to get 3 points, 2 points, 5 points. So Haaland, though, on the other hand, can come out and get hat trick in 10 minutes, and that's 20 minutes of play, and he can bang in a hat trick. There could be an opportunity towards the end of the season on a Haaland, and other players as well that we've not even spoke about in this conversation that could end up having a good run or end to the season. So yeah, I do agree. Who do I think the best triple captain is this week? I think if you're going to use it, it's definitely Rashford. I think he's the best triple captain if you're going to use it in this game week. Closely followed by Fernandes, because his record against Leeds is ridiculous. I think 6 goals in 4 games, although one of them was a hat trick. But he tends to get big scores against them, and I'm always someone that likes players that have records against clubs, which does sway me towards the Bruno triple captain. But I'm also someone that likes to play a bit different, and when everyone's talking about putting it on Rashford, I always try and think about the other player that might end up doing better, and I'm thinking it could be Bruno. But I think Rashford number 1, Fernandes number 2. But yeah, I think it's interesting, mate, that you've said you might save it. So yeah, again, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Let us know if you're going to save it like FPLROO is, if you're going to wait for Haaland, or if you're considering using it on Bruno Fernandes, maybe like me. Let us know what you think in the comments. Anything else to add?
Yeah, so there is obviously it's not guaranteed, but probably about 30% chance of City doubling in game week 29, and they do have 2 home games, so West Ham and Liverpool. Obviously not the easiest games, but Liverpool are terrible, and West Ham are terrible too. So,
At the moment, yeah.
yeah, but you just don't. Obviously, injuries and Champions League and stuff like that. Obviously, it's not the best, but if like City are going to be fighting for the league right until the end, with how far they are behind. So
I hope so.
yeah.
Yeah, no, good stuff then from FPLROO. So that's our thoughts on the best captains, our thoughts on the triple captain situation. Let's just pick a differential each. Mine, I've been talking about him all week, was Casemiro. If you say you can't get to Bruno, or you don't want to get to Bruno, or you don't want to go to Shaw, and you want to go, you've got Rashford, you want to bring in Bruno, and you just want a third Man United midfielder because Eriksen's injured. I like Casemiro because he seems to be getting in goal scoring positions, shooting from distance as well, finding his way onto the end of headers. This is something there that he seems to be doing the business. And I think with his low ownership, and I think he's got 3 or 4 returns in like his last 6 or 7 games, he's actually been doing quite well. Scored a couple of goals recently in the cup. So I think he's a pretty good differential. What do you think on Casemiro as a differential?
Yeah, I think it's a great differential if you can't afford Bruno, like at 4.9 million. I know it's not the typical FPL option, defensive midfielder, but maybe now he's not playing next to Eriksen, he'll be playing next to Fred. Maybe Fred will let him go, and then he'll sit, and then vice versa. And yeah, like you said, maybe not that great at his recent returns in the Prem, but 2 goals against Reading in the Cup, and assist against Forest in the first leg, and against Charlton in the round before. So he can chip in with the goals, which is not something you'd expect from him, really. So that's why he's a differential, I guess.
Yeah, no, and I think like on a double game week, sometimes it's worth it. The one thing you probably will run a risk with him is a yellow card. He'd obviously already picked up 5 bookings quite quickly, so you are going to run that risk. But I think it's just a fun pick. Like if you want to, there is still people out there that enjoy the game for just making random picks and play the game, in a fun way, as opposed to us with our mini leagues and all our other stuff. But yeah, so if you're just playing for a bit of fun, I think Casemiro is a good pick for this week. One other one that we haven't spoke about, well, we spoke about the player, but not many have spoken about triple captain in Luke Shaw, which I look at it and I think the upside of if you had Luke Shaw as captain and United kept 2 clean sheets, right? And he gets his 3 bonus or 2 bonus that he has been getting. So you look at that, right? Gets 2 clean sheets, potentially gets 3 bonus in one, 2 in or 3 in the other, 18 points as triple captain. If he gets a goal or an assist, comes out, you're looking pretty good. Not many people, and you just know there's going to be people out there that are going to do it, and and they're going to end up, getting potentially this really big score. So, is there any other triple captain that isn't Fernandes, Rashford, or Luke Shaw that you look at and think, and maybe that isn't Casemiro, that you look at and think could be a pretty interesting triple captain to use this week?
Maybe not triple captain, but I've got another maybe differential that you could triple captain, I guess. But I don't think I'd have the bottle to do it. So I like the look of, well, when I say like the look, again, if you can't afford Bruno, Anthony, so 7.3 million, only 3.3% owned. So in terms of starts, a lot of people will be worried about, is he going to start? But I think with Eriksen not there, he'll probably kind of guaranteed, as maybe Bruno has to drop back and do that kind of creative work. So he started last 5 of his last 6 Prem games, and he started in all the last 3 cup games too. Although he's only had an assist, which was against Reading, he has looked slightly better. And I feel like it's more rival fans that are taking the mick out of Anthony rather than
it's a bit
United
unfair.
fans.
It's a bit unfair.
Yeah.
He did start life well at Old Trafford. He was scoring quite early on, and he was looking decent.
Yeah.
He had a couple of returns, and then he was hitting the post, and he can finish, and he's got an eye for goal. It's not actually the worst pick, and I think people that are sort of saying stuff about him maybe aren't necessarily watching the whole game, because he is getting himself. And look, he's new to the league, and we've all seen what he could do at Ajax, and he did it in the early stages at United. So I've seen a few people talk about him as well, actually. So yeah, that's an interesting pick. I like it.
I think it's just one of them ones. If you can't, Bruno, obviously Rashford and Bruno, the top picks, but even Bruno's probably classed as a differential. He's probably under 10% owned. So, but yeah, a lot of good options from United, which is a surprise thinking back to last year.
Yeah, it is. It is, and they've picked up some good form. The fixtures are falling into play for them as well, and the players are starting to get the points. I didn't think I'd be triple captaining a United player this year. I would have thought it a couple of years ago when Fernandes had that really good season, although there was a lot of pens involved that year. But it looks like it could happen again. With I didn't do it then anyway, but I could be thinking about a triple captain on a Man United player for game week 22. But look, that is going to be the end of the stream. This was just the transfer plans and our some of our thoughts for game week 22. I'll be back with a live deadline stream tomorrow night before deadline as well. FPLROO, where can obviously I spoke about it earlier on the pod, but do you want to just let everyone know again where they can find you?
Yeah, so I'm on YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. But yeah, mainly on YouTube. I'm still not as strong on TikTok like FPL Matt Day.
But you don't post as much rubbish on there. That's why.
One day. But yeah, no, YouTube every week, 2 to 3 videos, kind of team selection, answering questions from the community, and stuff like that, transfer plans.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, mate. It's been great to have you on. Great to get your insights and your thoughts. So yeah, best of luck for this week. I'm at FPL Matt Day. Like I said earlier on, if you can please just like the video, hit the subscribe if you haven't done already, and get all your comments in and questions for game week 22. I'll come back in and answer them. I'm sure FPLROO will come in and help everyone out as well. And like I said, give him a subscribe. Go check him out on all of the socials. But we'll leave the stream there. Good luck, everyone, for game week 22. And we'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.